Hi there, I'm back with another book pick, and this time I'm recommending a book by Ed Komaszewski, James Sawyer, and Daniel Wallace called Reinventing Jesus: How Contemporary Skeptics Miss the Real Jesus and Mislead Popular Culture. Recently I was talking with a young man who was wrestling with some doubts about the Bible because of so many of the skeptical claims that our culture makes against it. Claims like the idea that the New Testament was somehow put together for political reasons by Emperor Constantine in the 4th century. Or the idea that the divinity of Jesus was a belief that Christians developed much later on and then wrote back into the New Testament. It made me realize how skeptical claims like this that have been popularized in things like books or the media have been repeated so often that they've taken on the aura of fact, leaving Christians often in the place where they're not sure of how to respond, or sometimes doubting whether they can even know if the Bible is really true and reliable. This is why I think Reinventing Jesus is such a helpful and important resource for Christians to have. Now, admittedly, it's a bit more of an academic read than a lot of the books I recommend, but this is necessary because of the nature and importance of the historical and textual evidence that we have that supports the reliability of the Bible. There are 5 main sections to this book, all devoted to responding to 5 of the biggest skeptical challenges made against the Bible today. Part 1 deals with the skeptical challenge that because the Gospels in particular weren't written until several decades after Jesus, that somehow the Gospel writers forgot what Jesus actually did and said, and therefore made a lot of what they wrote up. Part 2 deals with the charge that the New Testament writings were changed so dramatically over time that there's no way of even knowing what the originals might have said. Part 3 addresses the charge that the decision to include the books that are in the New Testament wasn't made until centuries after the church began, and was done for political reasons. Part 4 confronts the accusation that the earliest Christians didn't believe in the divinity of Jesus, but that this belief developed centuries later, and that those later Christians then wrote that belief back into the New Testament. And Part 5 silences the popularized claim that Jesus' virgin birth was just ripped off of other virgin conception myths from earlier mythology. The authors don't just dismiss these skeptical charges, but they meet them head on with the good historical and textual evidence we have that proves these claims to be flatly false. I also appreciate that these authors have 3 main groups of people in mind when writing this book. And I'll just use their words to help summarize what they hope you'll get out of it. If you are skeptical of the Jesus of the Bible, we hope you'll discover that a step toward him doesn't require leaving your brain behind. If you embrace the biblical Christ, but think faith isn't concerned with matters of the mind, we want you to see that belief in the incarnation, that is God entering the time-space world as a man 2 millennia ago, compels you to take history seriously. And if you're a Christian already committed to loving God with your heart and mind, we trust your faith will be strengthened and you'll be equipped to share it more compellingly. Here at Prepared to Answer, we are committed to helping Christians develop their minds. And that's why I think Reinventing Jesus is such a great resource for you to have access to. So that's this month's book pick. We'll see you next time.